So we got up this morning, flew down to Cordele, Georgia, and picked up an air conditioner for the 18. They didn't have any. This is the Arctic Air unit. They didn't have any videos or pictures, so we're going to make one and explain how this thing works. But at the moment, I'm not sure that we're even going to be able to use it. So what happens, and I did not know this until we actually got it, but what happens is the back here, this is our exhaust tubes that have to blow hot air out of the unit, and we've got to figure out where we're going to have that air be exiting the airplane. So this was an unexpected part of the assembly. Also, I did not know that this grid up here at the top is actually the intake for the unit. So this is where it gets the fresh air that it's actually cooling to blow out of the fans on top. So then you end up with these guys bolting down here for to actually blow the cold air out. The other part of this that I didn't know is over here on this side is another intake that it sucks hot air out of the airplane, and then it basically blows it across the coils, I guess, and exits through these two guys over here. So we've got intakes on both sides of the unit, which means that it can't go up against a wall anywhere. And then you've got your drain line over here for the condensation. And then over here on this side, we've got the electric side that's got our electric wire that we've got to actually plug into. So I don't know how we're going to put this in the airplane at the moment, but the unit itself was totally not expected to have all these pieces like this. So we're going to see what we can work out. So this is where the chair sat facing backwards, kind of like this chair over here on this side is a little bit farther away, and I was planning on putting that air unit over here in the corner, but I am trying to figure out how to get the exhaust part of that thing, because like I said, I didn't know that it had such big exhaust things that needed to get installed. So we're trying to figure out where we can position those to get rid of that hot air. So there's a access panel here that goes into the spar section of this wall that I'm looking at the moment, but I'm not real sure how we're going to get it in. The other option is to install it back here in the back in the luggage area, which would be fine, except that I don't really want to run the 60 amp 6 gauge wire all the way back there, and but that is another option, and then have the exhaust just going out into the rear bulkhead. All right, so another problem that we had was the cables that they had on the unit were not near long enough to get even to the other end of the unit. So, and because of the way that we're having to put this in the airplane, I need the plug back on the other side of this and over there. So I've got new wires on here. Basically, you just flip this the plastic tab. You have to push it a little bit hard down to release the cable, pull it out, and then your other cable attaches over here. So actually on the bottom down here. So we just made a new cable here, and everything's good. So now we've got long enough cables to go to the other end of the unit. While I'm in here, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not. Let me see. get a flashlight here. So this is just a plastic container, a little tray that all of the condensation runs down into, and then somewhere, I don't know exactly where, I'm assuming down here on this end, maybe under the unit, or it could be over here. Yeah, I think it must be underneath the radiator here. There's a drain that drains that out, and it comes out down here in this hose here. The problem is that there's nothing to hold that water in this tray, and the worst problem is that I'm a tail dragger, and so all the water is going to be sitting down here at this end of the thing until after I take off. They say that there's not a whole lot of condensation that gets in here, running this thing for just 15-20 minutes, that it won't really be that big of a deal, and then once I take off, it'll drain all of it out. But that's something I'm gonna have to watch, because this airplane can get to bouncing up and down with these big tires, just taxiing down the runway, and there's a potential that the water, if there is a lot of water in here, that it's going to splash out and possibly get on the floor. So I'm gonna have to keep an eye on that. I may end up having to reroute that line and put it back here at this end if that ends up being the case. So right now, I've gotten the stuff wired up out on the wing. I've got the breaker on the outside. I've got the wires running through. You see the two wires up here in the corner. I've got everything ready. I'm fixing to make the plate to go for the cannon plug to plug into here. So I'll have a permanent connection over here on this wall that will have the cannon plug on it, and then we will wire up these other two ends to the other end of the cannon plug, so I can just screw it in, and when I want to take the air conditioner out, I'll just take it out. Once I get that in and get the unit over here where I can kind of see where it's going to go, the next step is going to be to mount this thing here inside of the box that sits in here for a step. I'll be mounting that in and having the two exhausts. They come out of these two fans here, and then they'll go into those two lines to exhaust the hot air out overboard through the tail. So that's where I'm at the moment, and so we'll continue on and see how this goes. I am getting this thing in slowly. Like I said, this job has been so much more than what I was planning on, that I'm really frustrated. But I just wanted to show another little things like this that just drive you nuts. So this is the top piece that it has to go on here. 3 of these holes lined up. This hole right here doesn't line up, so now I got to take it back off and drill this out so that it'll actually fit in here. So for a unit that cost what this thing costs, I would just expect a lot better attention to detail, because right now I'm looking at a whole day that I've spent. I've actually worked on this yesterday and today. But figure 8 hours of my day wiring this thing up, and I still haven't figured out how I'm going to do the exhaust vent. So I'm still working on that, but I've got everything electrically wired in. I had to replace the wire, because it wasn't long enough, and it just little stuff like that I shouldn't be doing. So I'm hoping this thing just totally kicks ass when I'm done, because right now I am not extremely happy about what I'm doing. All right, so I have this box here, and I use this to get in and out of the cockpit because it's such a tall step to get up there. This is the plate that came with the air conditioner, you can see up in here are the two vents. The problem is that they are so low to the ground that I don't know if I'm gonna be able to use this thing that they gave me at all, because as you can see, it doesn't bend very well, and it's not, by the time it gets off of here, it's not 90 degrees. It really doesn't turn 90 degrees till it goes well below the unit. So I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to do this. It's crazy. The only way that I see that this would really work is going through the bulkhead, you know, back in your baggage compartment, which you could do in a Baron or something if you're going to use up all your luggage area. But if you're trying to do it anywhere else in the airplane, I just don't see how this is going to work at all. But we'll see what happens as I go. Right. So I ended up using scat tube, double I guess it's skeet tube. I don't remember what the difference is, but this is a 2-layer scat tube, and it actually worked out pretty good. I've got the floorboard, the 2 little holes cut in there for the air to blow in. It'll go into the floorboard and then under the floor into the tail. That's the idea. We'll have to see how this goes once we crank it up. And then I've got the footstool there to get up in the cockpit. So I'll back up a little bit and kind of see what the final product looks like. I'm going to be redoing the little footboard or little step, because it was designed to go horizontal, you know, back and from left to right, and it's not the best looking step in the world, so I'm going to redo it. But it turned out not so bad. I've got all the wiring, the plug in, and we're fixing to put the battery back in, pull it out, crank it up, and see what happens. All right, we have the engines cranked up. We're letting them warm up a little bit. We've got our Arctic air. It's showing that it's got some electricity. So once the engines warm up a little bit, we have the air conditioner back here. We're going to see what happens. In the Beech, the air conditioner is working pretty good. We closed the door up to check it out, and it cooled it off in here pretty good. So now Charlie's coming in to check it out. But the air blowing out of it's pretty good. It's going to be pretty good. Air conditioner and everything turned out really awesome. I mean, it's not the coldest air conditioner in the world, but to have cold air blowing on the back of your head when you're sitting up front is going to be a cool thing. So the question's how it's going to do when I get to Florida and the Bahamas and places that it's really hot, although it's 98 degrees here in Georgia, so I can take it out tomorrow and find out how well it's actually going to work. But I'm pretty happy with it. It was a lot more work than I was anticipating, but it ended up being a pretty clean install. I've still got to strap it to the floor and find a place up front for the little control monitor, but overall I'm pretty happy with it.